I'd like to talk to you a little bit about tips for staging. Now, acting in the theater requires that you project a widening focus, unlike in the cinema, where you do the opposite, where you're going to try to narrow down your performance to the single eye of the person you're acting opposite typically. In the theater, you have the obligation to be seen by the entire theater. Maybe not all the time, if you're, in what they call a thrust theater in the round, but everybody deserves their shot of looking at your face. So you're going to want to take every opportunity you can to open yourself. Sometimes it's called cheating, because the organic truth would be that you would stay in one proximity, but you cheat the organic truth to become open to the audience. Typically, you're going to want to use your upstage hand, even if that's not your good hand. I might use my left hand to hold a drink, as opposed to my right hand, where I'm going to be in a closed position. Likewise, if I were to kneel, I might want to kneel with this knee so that I'm open as opposed to closed that way. You want to maybe take every opportunity you can to use the fourth wall out here. If there were a mirror in the fourth wall that you could use, or a fireplace, you don't want to touch anything unless it's a specialized, stylized sort of setup. Otherwise, that's called pantomime and strains the audience's imagination. So lifting a window can be a little tricky in that way. But to take every opportunity to look out. Windows are great, to look out, even if it's not specifically mentioned in the play that you're looking out over the horizon. You can bounce your dialogue off the other character. So you might say a line to the character you're opposite that is the direct action, and then open it up when there's something that you're going to visualize that you're speaking of, or something that would be a parenthetical statement. So if I were to say, you can't do this, every time it's the same thing with you. I'm taking that opportunity to open up thought lines as I think. I can look out at the horizon, again, imagining pictures in my head, and it would be that horizon line that I'd be looking out at. This can be a little tricky in a full theater, so maybe before the show, you want to find those places in the theater where you can look and feel safe that you're not going to be looking into somebody's eyes. So it might be the edge of a banister, it might be the exit light, some glow tape on the stairs, but that way you can be sure every time I look out and I'm imagining my future or my past, that I'm not going to have somebody snap into focus and startle the both of us in the process. Switches, specifically what we call non-practical switches, can be a bit of a problem, because the technician in the theater is responsible for the activation of the device, and the timing has to be worked out so that when you turn the faucet handle, you turn the light switch, you push on the stereo, which is in fact being controlled by a guy in a light booth, that they are simultaneous, that you don't push the switch and then there's this delay disrupting the reality of it being an impractical device, practical being that it really works. So I don't want to block his view, first of all, give the guy a break and let him see your hand touching the device. Another good idea is not to touch it and then let it go, but to leave your hand on it, and then if there is a delay, then the audience can forgive that, because they can just believe that it took you a while after you put your hand onto it to activate the device. Likewise, it's good to put your hand on it and look away so you don't seem foolish staring at a switch that you're not activating. So in other words, when you got to work on a device on stage, whether it's a faucet or a stereo or a light switch, it's good to touch the switch and then look away. And if there's a delay in the activation of the device, then, as I say, that's forgiven. A tip for using a telephone on stage is, of course, the basic element is to create the reality that you're actually having a conversation with somebody, so you want to preset that relationship with whoever is on the other end of the phone, how you feel about them. You want to give them enough time to speak, but only enough time to speak so you can move the proceedings along. It's a good idea to not cover your mouth with the telephone, but perhaps do something artificial and lower the mouthpiece so that your projection is clear. And even more than that, that people can read your lips. A lot of how we actually understand people is because we're reading their lips simultaneously with listening to them. To create the reality of a phone call, another nice thing is to create the reality of interrupting someone. When we interrupt someone, we oftentimes will start with a syllable and then carry on. That syllable that indicates that we are attempting an interruption. So if you go, Mom, I'm going to try to tell her. Another thing that often happens on the telephone or in any conversation, but is you don't think to do perhaps as an actor, is laugh at what the other person says. Even if we don't know what it is that they're saying, yeah, Mom, I'll do that in order to convey that reality of being on the phone. Another good technique is to do an interruption of an action. This is a thing actors tend not to think to do because they tend to know exactly what they're going to do. So if I'm holding the drink, I know I'm going to keep holding the drink in the scene, and I'm going to be inclined not to think about going to drink if I don't actually drink. But people in life all the time interrupt actions. They start to drink and then they don't. They start to put something down and then they don't. They very oftentimes go to speak and don't. So you as an actor might think about, even though you have no dialogue, starting to speak before the other character interrupts you, or you think better of what it was that you were going to say.